country. So there is more than one constituents. Yes, the employees are one. Yes, the employer is one. Yes, Canadians are one. But also, let's not forget the country.
The honourable member for Saint-Léonard Saint-Michel will have 2 minutes remaining for the period for questions and comments when the House next resumes debate on the question. We're now going to statements by members. Déclaration de député.
Statements by members. The honourable member for La Pointe-de-Lille. Mr. Speaker, Acadians strongly denounce the anti-Francophone hateful comments on the internet site of the CBC, and following a lot of pressure, the CBC decided to change its practices. We asked some time ago that this House condemn the comments against Quebecers in the Energy East file. This type of hate speech against Francophones is increasingly frequent in Anglophone media in Canada and Quebec. We all need to condemn misogyny, homophobia, bullying, Islamophobia, and prejudice against Indigenous people. But there is another prejudice as well, and that is Francophobia. We need to say here in this House that we denounce that kind of speech, because Acadians and Francophones across Canada should not feel threatened when they wish to assert their vitality.
Mr. Speaker, Mary Fay is welcomed back home to the village of Chester, Nova Scotia as a world champion. The 17-year-old curler skipped her Canadian team to victory at the World Junior Curling Championships in Denmark earlier this month. Mary and her Nova Scotia teammates Kristen Clark of Halifax, Carly Burgess of Truro, Janique Leblanc of Fall River, and 5th Sarah Daniels, along with their coach Andrew Atherton, were undefeated in round-robin play, where they faced off against teams from around the world. Mary was also recognized with the Sportswoman Award for the tournament. Mr. Speaker, I also want to recognize the outpouring of support and pride for this extraordinary team of young women in communities across Nova Scotia. Finally, I wanted to offer congratulations from the House to the Canadian men's junior team who won bronze at the World Championships. Congratulations to all once again. You've done us proud.
Honourable member for Calgary Confederation.
Mr. Speaker, as you and many others in this House know, I have known Canadian teacher Neil Bandelman and his family for a long time. In fact, I just met with his brother Guy a few moments ago. Neil is well known in Calgary as a respected teacher there for many years. Sadly, Neil continues to be held in an Indonesian prison in deplorable conditions and forced to live like a caged animal. He has to sleep on the floor and endures constant hunger, discomfort, and threat of disease. He is a victim of a flawed Indonesian justice system, but our own Canadian government has failed him too. They have failed to bring this Canadian back home or warn other Canadians of the risks visiting this country. Guy wants his brother home. The entire Bandelman family wants Neil home. Unfortunately, all this government has done and is prepared to do is to talk. When are we going to see action? Many Canadians are asking, when are we going to see Neil come home to Canada?
The honourable member for Willowdale.
Mr. Speaker, I'm honoured to rise in the House today to acknowledge Nowruz, the spring equinox celebrated by 300 million people around the world and hundreds of thousands of Canadians from coast to coast to coast. A 3,000-year-old tradition, Nowruz is a much-cherished historic holiday for Persians, Afghans, Turks, Kurds, and many others with cultural roots in Western and Central Asia. This joyous holiday, celebrated for several millennia, is a festive occasion that brings together people of different cultures and languages to mark renewal. The holiday celebrates the significance of family, community, and new beginnings. And speaking of new beginnings, last night I had the honor to join the Minister for Democratic Institutions and the Member of Parliament for Richmond Hill to convene the first ever Nowruz reception on Parliament Hill. Many members of this House and hundreds of guests joined us together around the HoC to celebrate the arrival of spring and the dawn of a new year. We were particularly honored to have the Right Honourable Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs join us to mark this historic first celebration of Nowruz on Parliament Hill. And
The order. Order. The Honourable Member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, it is my privilege to recognize Vimy Ridge Day, which is observed April 9th each year. 2016 is the 99th anniversary of a battle that served to define our nation and people as fierce defenders of justice and peace. Many lives were lost that day, sons, husbands, and fathers who vanished on the battlefields of France beneath the guns of war. My great-uncle, George Mount, was among those who never returned after Vimy Ridge 99 years ago. It was an honor to visit Canada's monument in France and find his name carved in the stone amongst all those who lost their lives. The memorial stands as a humbling reminder of the fallen soldiers who paid for their service to Canada with their lives. We must remember those at Vimy and those who have served since. We owe a debt of gratitude to our veterans because they and their families continue to make sacrifices for our security here at home and around the world.
The Honourable Member for Ottawa West Nepean.
Mr. Speaker, I am proud to have Algonquin College in my riding, a leading global educational institution with over 20,000 full-time students. Just one among their many innovative programs, the Algonquin College Construction Research Centre is a hub of local applied research and innovation. A
few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to visit the center that is partly funded by the federal government. They're using high-tech technology and working with leaders in the construction industry, in the private sector, to be skilled for the new labor market. The center was built on a three-dimensional focus.
Algonquin College for their work in supporting students' creativity. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, this weekend around the world, those of the Christian faith will celebrate Easter. Western civilization, our parliamentary institutions, human rights, Canadian Constitution, common law, criminal law, Code Civil, all have deep roots in Christianity. Our traditions and cultures have evolved over time from the promise of a coming Messiah in the Old Testament and the teachings of Jesus in the New Testament. We're promised everlasting life when we put our faith in Jesus Christ. The struggles of our daily lives and the sacrifices that we make pale in comparison to the sacrifice of our Savior, Jesus Christ. He died on the cross at Calvary to pay for our sins, and then he rose from the grave to give us hope for our resurrection and eternal life. This weekend, we celebrate the life and death of our Lord Jesus Christ, but even more, we celebrate his victory over death.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for La Salle et Mar-Verdun.
A very important part of my riding's history, the Scottish community. Scottish immigrants first settled in Quebec over 400 years ago, making them one of the founding peoples of Quebec and Montreal. In honour of the contributions the Scottish community has made to the economic, social, and cultural development of Montreal and Quebec, as well as the friendship forged between Scottish communities and Quebecois communities, the Quebec National Assembly has formally declared April 6th Tartan Day. Verdun is also home to the annual Highland Games, Mr. Speaker, a cultural celebration that started in 1978, jointly organized by the St. Andrew's Society and the Sons of Scotland. Je suis fier.
I am proud of the constituents in my riding who have shown determination in maintaining their tradition and heritage that they share with Quebecers. And I would invite you to wear your tartan on April 6th and join us in Verdun for the Montreal Scottish Games on July 31st.
The Honourable Member for Toronto Danforth.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to start by wishing my daughter Phoebe a happy birthday. She is 11 today. I also want to talk about an important event in my riding. It is the day to celebrate Greek independence.
It's the 195th anniversary of the Greek War of Independence. In my community of Toronto, Danforth, Greek Canadians make up a large portion of the residents and business owners. The Danforth has a proud history and continues to be a major focal point for the Greek Canadians from Toronto and across Canada. That's why next weekend, Greek Canadians will be celebrating Greece's Independence Day and their contribution to Canada over the years. I'm happy to join the Greek community of Toronto in this tremendous parade. In
addition, the Toronto City Hall will be flying the Greek flag on March 29 to celebrate this important date for the Greek community. Thank you.
The honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
Mr. Speaker, today I'm honoring Frank Kinsella, former mayor of Leeds in the Thousand Islands Township in my riding of Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes. He died March 9th at age 75. He was a councillor and then mayor in the 1960s in Black River, Matheson Township in Northern Ontario. And following 12 years as Director of Education for the local school board in my riding, he served one term as a councillor in Gananoque and then councillor and mayor in the Township of Leeds in the Thousand Islands. Past president of Rotary clubs in both Brockville and Gananoque, he helped launch Probus clubs in both communities and worked on polio eradication initiatives in India. I had the pleasure to work with Mr. Kinsella on several projects, and I had many discussions with him on how best to help the community, his favorite subject. He knew how to bring people and resources together to get positive results for everyone. Mr. Speaker, I offer the condolences of the House to his wife, Mary Lou, his 5 children, Kurt, Dave, Grant, Mary, Anthony, and his 5 grandchildren. Mayor Frank, my friend, rest in peace.
The member for Nepean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday marked the Hindu festival of Holi, known as Festival of Color or the Festival of Sharing Love. This ancient festival is celebrated by Indo-Canadians. It originated in India, but is also celebrated in many parts of South Asia, such as Nepal, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. This holiday represents the unofficial start of spring and symbolizes the triumph of good over evil. It is celebrated by throwing color powders at one another. It is furthermore an opportunity to gather with family and friends to celebrate the importance of love and togetherness. Tonight, I'll be hosting an event at Sir John A. Macdonald Building to celebrate this joyous occasion. Several hundred people are expected to attend. I have sent invitations to all the members of this House and sincerely hope to see many of you there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Mississauga Centre.
Mr. Speaker, I want to take a moment to share with the House how angry I am. The terrorist attacks in Brussels this week makes me angry. The killing of unsuspecting innocent civilians makes me angry. Listening to terrorists pretend to speak in the name of my faith makes me angry. The willingness of some humans to inflict carnage on their fellow human makes me angry. But, Mr. Speaker, I also want to tell you that reading many touching stories of humanity and compassion in the aftermath of such horrific attacks offers me comfort. Hearing many people from different backgrounds rally together and vow to confront such acts offer me comfort. Watching many resist the temptation to succumb to anger and instead offer resolved, thoughtful, and firm responses offers me comfort. Today, we need to open our hearts and extend our hearts to Brussels and victims of terrorism everywhere and reassure them that we stand with them.
The member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise to recognize my seatmate, colleague, and friend, Jim Hillier. Ironically, or I guess appropriately, this was Jim's speaking spot that we had traded. He wanted to get back to his treatment and to his kids. And so, ironically, this was his spot. My wife and I got to be friends with Jim and Libby shortly after they arrived here in 2011, and we arrived as well. We were on trips together, and we got to know each other and soon became friends. We both had 4 children and had a lot of common interests. He was a man of deep conviction and purpose, and from the daily conversations to Monday night MP hockey, where we knew him as the sniper, he will be missed. I say today to Livy, his children, nation, Asia, Taylor, and London, we are here for you. Lastly, to Jim, from all of us, may you rest in peace, old friend.
Thank the member for that. The honourable member for Edmonton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Today, we all mourn the loss of a dear colleague and friend, the honourable member for Medicine Hat, Cardston Warner. Fellow Albertans in this House know that Jim was a dedicated and dynamic representative for our province who would always stand up for his constituents, for Albertans, and indeed for all Canadians. Lors de son trop court passage,
he was here for too short of time in the Parliament of Canada, but he served on 7 different committees over 5 years. During the second session of the 41st Parliament, he served on the Heritage Committee, and his wisdom still informs our work.
Know that Jim was a fighter. Though he had to abandon a nomination for a provincial election because he was diagnosed with leukemia, his absence from public life was temporary. Jim left only to come back later, this time as a Member of Parliament for Lethbridge. Last fall, electors in his new riding of Medicine Hat, Cardston Warner also decided to place their confidence in him. A dedicated volunteer, a community leader, a loving father of 4, Jim Hillier will be sorely missed by colleagues on both sides of the aisle. To his wife, Livy, and his 4 children, I'd like to offer my deepest condolences.
Thank you. The honourable member for South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm fortunate to represent the riding of South Okanagan, West Kootenay, a riding full of magnificent mountains and deep valleys. And each of those watersheds has a group of hardworking citizens, almost all of them volunteers, who have dedicated themselves to the task of stewarding the natural world they live in. These stewardship groups work to protect their watersheds, to maintain the incredible biodiversity found in both the mountains and the valleys, and to ensure that activities in their region are truly sustainable. And whether they are trying to keep invasive plants out of their grasslands or alien mussels out of their lakes, protecting a spectacular migration of toads, or informing landowners of best practices on living with endangered species, these groups work tirelessly to keep their valleys healthy and rich in natural diversity. So from the Arrow Lakes and Slocan Valley, Christina Lake and the Kettle River to the deserts of the South Okanagan, I salute the valuable work of stewardship groups in my riding and across Canada.
The honourable member for Edmonton, Wetaskiwin.
Mr. Speaker, April 2nd is World Autism Awareness Day, and 18 years since my son Jaden was diagnosed. Life with Jaden hasn't exactly been as we'd planned. He's never made the honor roll or attended university or heard his name called at the NHL draft. In no way is this a disappointment. Those were simply not the right plans for Jaden. To measure his value by IQ or income or goals and assists would be to completely misunderstand who he is. Jaden has a truly rare and beautiful nature, an immeasurable blend of honesty, authenticity, innocence, and genuine love. It is an indescribable joy to witness him grow up, with a childlike vulnerability and sense of wonder that the rest of us sadly lose over time. Life with Jaden may not be what we'd planned, but we do not celebrate any less. We just celebrate different things. It's a lesson learned through experience and one I wouldn't trade for the world.
It's good to have Jayden here today. The honourable member. The honourable member for Dartmouth Cole Harbour.
To stand in this place to help promote awareness of epilepsy by recognizing Purple Day this coming Saturday, March 26th. Thousands of people across Canada will wear purple as they celebrate our nation's leadership in epilepsy awareness. I'm proud to remind this House that it was my very good friend and yours, Mr. Speaker, Cassidy Megan, a young Nova Scotian who founded Purple Day in 2008 at the age of 9 to raise international awareness about epilepsy. Canada is now a world leader in this cause thanks to caring citizens like Cassidy. I thank my colleagues, many of whom are all too familiar with epilepsy, for their generous support and for wearing purple in the House today. Please take a moment to share that pride with your constituents using the hashtag Purple Day 2016. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions, questions orales. Honorable chef de l'opposition.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This budget is a betrayal of the middle class. Families are being asked to return their universal childcare checks. Moms and dads are no longer able to claim a tax credit for putting their kids in soccer or dance class. And the tax credit for textbooks or education is gone. Mr. Speaker, why are middle-class families being stuck with the bill to pay for this Liberal spending spree?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we're very proud of the budget we put forward for Canadians. We're particularly proud that we've been able to meet up to our promises to middle-class Canadians. We started on January 1st by reducing taxes on 9 million Canadians, put more money in their pockets each and every paycheck. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, our approach to Canada Child Benefits improves the lives of 9 out of 10 families with children. They will have on average $2,300 more per year, including the measures that were taken for families mentioned by the member opposite. We are very proud of what we've done for families, and we know that this is an important first step on helping Canadian families to deal with the challenge.
Well, the honourable member of the opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the budget confirms that Liberals can't manage the economy. They told Canadians in the last election that they would run a modest deficit of $10 billion. Now they're borrowing 3 times what they promised, along with tax increases on the middle class. That's not what Canadians voted for. Mr. Speaker, how can Canadians trust this government to grow our economy and create jobs when they can't even keep a simple promise to Canadians?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, after 10 years of low growth, Canadians elected a new government. They asked us to do 2 things. They asked us to help the middle class, and they asked us to grow the economy. So, Mr. Speaker, we are so proud to start down the path of growing the economy. We're making investments in infrastructure. We are developing an innovation agenda that can make a real difference for this generation and future generations of Canadians so they will have a better future for themselves and their families.
As we know, members will sometimes hear things here that they may not like, they may not agree with. But I know we all have the capacity to be professional and listen carefully, listen quietly and show respect and wait for our turn to have a chance. And now it's the turn of the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister claimed that his promise to balance the budget in 4 years was set in stone. But because of this year's Liberals borrowing, each family across Canada now owes about $3,000 more. With no plan to balance the budget again, that number will only continue to grow. He's already forcing families to stop claiming a tax credit for putting their kids in hockey or art. Which taxes does he plan to increase this year, next year, and the year after that to pay for his spending spree?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member for her question because it gives me an opportunity again to say how proud we are of our budget. A budget that is helping middle-class Canadians across this country. We started with helping 9 million Canadians with tax reductions. But more importantly, we are moving forward on helping Canadians, 9 out of 10 Canadian families with children, with an average of $2,300 more per year. This will help them to lead better lives and deal with the challenges that they face in raising their children.
The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the budget tabled Wednesday confirms our fears. A $10 billion deficit has been announced, but we're going to have $30 billion. And I will quote the Federation of Quebec Chambers of Commerce. The absence of a plan to get back to balanced budget is worrisome and weakens the government's fiscal position. Will the government confirm that it has abandoned its plan to get back to striking a balance? Mr. Speaker, we are very proud of our budget. A few months ago, people said two things to us. Try to make sure that the middle class can be in a better situation and grow the economy. We will start with our program to grow the economy. That's our fiscal plan. It's very important to invest now with low interest rates and an opportunity to do something that will improve the situation for the following generations. That's our plan. That's the plan that Canadians asked us for. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, during the campaign, they announced a deficit of $10 billion for infrastructure. In this week's budget, we see an operational deficit of $30 billion, but only $2.9 billion for infrastructure. How can they explain this? This will recur all the time. How can the minister say this when he's only going to deliver $2.9 billion worth of infrastructure spending? The Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, our investments are important for the next generations. It's very important to invest in infrastructure. We will start with $11.9 billion in the next decade and $2 billion for the next 3 years for universities, $3.4 billion for federal infrastructure. These investments are very important to improve our growth rate. The Honourable Member for Outremont.
Mr. Speaker, when Air Canada came to Parliament looking for public investment, the answer was yes, but Parliament set down in law a very specific condition. Maintenance work had to be done in Canada. The courts have repeatedly ruled that Air Canada broke the law. Thousands of Canadian workers lost their jobs. Today, instead of upholding the rule of law, instead of enforcing this legislation, the government is retroactively changing the law to let the scofflaw Air Canada off the hook. Do they not understand that the foundation of democracy is that the law has to apply equally, even to the well-connected?
The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The situation has evolved, of course, enormously since 2012, and we're delighted that Air Canada has decided to make an investment in purchasing Bombardier aircraft. Not only that, doing the maintenance of those aircraft in Quebec over the next 20 years, as well as participating in setting up a centre of excellence, not only in Quebec, but also in Manitoba, and also an agreement with the government of Manitoba to create 150 jobs there. This is good news for the aerospace industry. The member across should be delighted for Canada.
The Honourable Member for Outremont.
No, Mr. Speaker, we're not delighted with a Liberal government that believes that the rich and well-connected can get off without obeying the law. No, we're not. proposes to change this law retroactively, it's Orwellian. It says that the provisions are deemed never to have come into force and are therefore repealed. They broke the law. The jobs, those thousands of workers lost good-paying jobs. Thousands of Canadian families were thrown out in the streets. How can they live with themselves by letting the rich, the powerful, the well-connected off the hook, to whom the law no longer applies?
The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, we're talking about a law that was put in place 28 years ago. The world has evolved. Air Canada is a company that must compete on a level playing field across Canada with other competitors and also internationally. We have, as a result of the Quebec government and the Manitoba government deciding not to litigate any further against Air Canada, felt that this was an appropriate time to clarify the law, to modernize it, so that Air Canada can compete with the rest of the world.
The Honourable Member for Outremont.
Clarified, it needed to be enforced and respected. Let's look at another recent example of where those who are in need are not respected by the Liberals. The courts ruled that First Nations children are victims of racial discrimination, and yet the Liberals are refusing to provide equitable funding for First Nations child welfare as specifically required by the courts. So why is the Liberal government failing to respect that court decision?
The Honourable Minister of Indigenous and Northern Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, we are very proud that we will be making an investment of $634.8 million in child welfare for First Nations children. We will respect the tribunal who understands that this system needs to be reformed. We will work with the leadership of First Nations, with provinces and territories to change this system so that First Nations children get to stay with their families and in their communities, and we will work with Dr. Blackstock at the same time.
Honourable Member for Outremont.
No less an authority than Cindy Blackstock, who brought this case, has confirmed that the Liberal government is failing to live up to the court-ordered investment for child welfare in First Nations. She knows that. Now, let's also look at what the Liberals are up to today. 1,685 public service jobs are on the chopping block. Their explanation, quote, "We're not going to outsource everything." That's supposed to reassure people. Was firing thousands of workers what Liberals really meant by repairing the broken relationship with the public service?
The Honourable Minister of Public Service and Procurement.
Mr. Speaker, we are committed to an enterprise-wide solution. The report that was tabled and that was reported on was from 2014. We have no intention of following through on that strategy. We have just committed in this budget to over $384 million to Shared Services Canada. So we are committed to Shared Services Canada, to making sure that Canadians and clients get the services that they need.
The Honourable Member for Brantford Grant.
Mr. Speaker, there's no such thing as free money, and small business owners are going to pay the price. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business called it a brutal budget for small businesses, filled with broken promises and higher taxes. Small businesses are the job creators in this country, but clearly the Prime Minister still thinks that most small businesses are just rich tax dodgers. Why is the Prime Minister killing jobs by punishing small businesses with higher taxes?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we are, again, so concerned that we are helping Canadians across this country. We know that our budget is an important budget for small and medium-sized businesses. We know that when small and medium-sized business owners wake up in the morning, what they care about is a strong and robust economy. They need that to make their business work. We know that they care about customers and clients that can buy their goods and services. So helping the middle class helps those people who can actually buy goods and services from small and medium-sized businesses. We know we've made a real difference for those businesses with our budget.
The Honourable Member for Brantford Grant.
Mr. Speaker, there is no jobs plan in this budget. It's a plan for massive spending on Liberal interests. and the finance minister has no plans to pay it back. The Liberals talk about economic growth, but this budget is pure smoke and mirrors. Why is the finance minister burdening Canadians with $100 billion in new debt, and why do job creators have to pay for it?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians asked us to do two things in the last election. They asked us to help the middle class, and they asked us to grow the economy. We've started out with helping the middle class. We are putting more money in the pockets of people who faced a generation of not getting enough money in their paychecks. But more importantly, we're moving forward with a plan to make a real difference for the next generation of Canadians, a more innovative and prosperous economy that can help our children and grandchildren to lead better lives.
The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent. The minister just said something interesting. He said it'll make a difference for next generations. Well, indeed, future generations will pay for your poor management of public funds. That's what's going to happen. I know that the member knows full well that he must address the chair and not other members directly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll try to conduct myself accordingly. I respect you a great deal. The problem, Mr. Speaker, is that this government decided to abolish tax credits that are very important for families. They're abolishing it for sporting activities, artistic activities, and school supplies. Why is this government harming families? Why is it sending the bill to our grandchildren who will pay the bill for their poor judgment? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, we are very proud of our budget because it really favors the middle class. It is a budget that has a child tax benefit. 9 out of 10 families with children will be in a better position because of this measure. On average, they will have $2,300 more to buy things important to them. That's a very important thing, and that's why we're very proud of the budget. The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent. You shouldn't be proud of living with money that you don't have and sending the bill to your grandchildren. If we look at this, for Quebec, there's nothing to create wealth or jobs, nothing for expansion of the Optics Institute or the Nordic Institute. The mayor of Quebec City said he was very worried. This demonstrates that this government has no plan to create jobs or create wealth. Why is it abandoning the real creators of wealth and jobs, the small and medium-sized business sector? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, we know that for the next generation, the most important thing is to have economic growth. We'll begin with our budget with important assistance. We will start with a fund for academics to improve the opportunity to conduct research, to improve their infrastructure for the next generation. We will help students too. They will be the innovators of the future. So this is a budget that truly helps Canada have a better economic growth rate in the future.
Mr. Speaker, there's a question that the Honourable Finance Minister keeps rather obviously avoiding and evading, which is why he, the Prime Minister chose to violate.
We haven't seemed to have a problem with sound and with translation. Wait a moment until that we're underway. The Honourable Member for Calgary-Midnapore.
I normally don't have a problem with sound, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a question for the Finance Minister is why he keeps evading this very key question. He says that the Liberal Party made 2 commitments to voters in the last election. He's completely forgotten the central engagement for fiscal responsibility, for balanced budgets in this term, for $25 billion in debt. Instead, he's delivered $119 billion in debt and counting. The Prime Minister said that budgets balance themselves, that there's a absolute commitment to balance the budget. Why did this Finance Minister so utterly violate that fundamental commitment to Canadian voters?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to start by saying it's nice to get a question from the honourable member for the first time. I appreciate it. I want to remind him that he was part of a government that left us with a deficit and left us with $150 billion of additional debt. We are now turning to how we can grow the economy for the next generation of Canadians. We're making investments that can make a real difference in this country for the future. Investments in infrastructure and innovation so that the children of today and their children will have a better future for Canada.
Order. I know it's rare, but as I was saying earlier, sometimes we hear things we're not in agreement with. Don't like too much, but I know we have the capacity to restrain ourselves. And I know we're all anxious to hear the honourable member for Calgary-Mindapore.
I've seen a lot of things in this place, Mr. Speaker, but not never a finance minister so blatantly contradicts his own department, which said this week that this government will have a $4 billion surplus for the first 3 quarters of this year. Mais la question centrale est
But the central question is, why is it that this government violated a solemn election promise to have a balanced budget within this government's mandate with no more than $25 billion in new debt? They will increase the federal debt by $120 billion right at the outset. The Honourable Minister of Finance.
We know that the way to deal with an economy that has had low growth, the way to deal with demographic challenges is to make investments in the future. We know that by making investments in the future, we can have a better fiscal situation for our children and our grandchildren. That's exactly what Canadians asked us to do, and that's exactly what we've started down. We know the investments we're making this year and next year will help us to grow the economy, and that, Mr. Speaker, is exactly the right thing to do.
The honourable member for Rimouski-Neigette-Témiscouata-les-Masques. With their budget, the Liberals missed a great opportunity to reduce economic inequality, while the government went back on its word and maintains a tax loophole for stock options that benefit the wealthy, while our seasonal workers are left by the wayside. Why is the Minister of Finance helping millionaires to the detriment of workers in need? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, we are very proud of our budget. We started with measures that are very important for the taxes of the middle class. We also want an innovative economy. We listen to people who own innovative companies. We try to get investments that could help our economy be more innovative in the future. The Honourable Member for Rimouski-Neigette-Témiscouata-les-Basques. Well,
Canada, Mr. Speaker, and budgets are about choices, and Liberals chose tax breaks for wealthy CEOs over helping Canadians. During the campaign, Liberals made a big deal about the importance of immediate spending on infrastructure, but Tuesday's budget turned out to be a shell game. No stable, predictable funding, and many investments are delayed for years. Over $3.4 billion is missing from the first 2 years alone. Why are they backtracking from their signature promise of immediate investments in infrastructure?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Under the leadership of the Minister of Infrastructure, we created the most important and significant infrastructure program in the history of Canada. $160 million for green infrastructure and more for public transit. It's good for Canada. It's good for our economy, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Carleton.
Some of the Liberal broken promises are good news. I want to thank the government for heeding my advice to abandon its plan to double taxation on stock options. Yet, another broken promise will kill jobs by targeting small business with an additional $1 billion in taxation. Why has the budget betrayed the middle class by breaking promises to the tune of $1 billion to our small business job creators?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member for his question. We have decided to maintain the small business tax rate where it is, at 10.5%. We have decided to focus on how we can grow the economy so that small and medium-sized businesses can have a successful opportunity to grow their businesses. We've decided to help the middle class so they can buy the goods and services from small businesses that small businesses want to sell and the middle class Canadians need. This is a budget that will make a huge difference for businesses across this country, and a positive one.
Now, the member for Carleton.
Mr. Speaker, small businesses are middle class. The Stats Canada data demonstrates the average full-time self-employed person in Canada earned about $40,000 a year. Not enough to qualify for the Liberal so-called middle-class tax plan, but apparently enough to pay higher taxes because of this billion-dollar broken promise. The Liberal government promised that the rate would be 9%. Instead, it's 10.5%. Why has the Liberal government betrayed the middle class with this billion-dollar broken promise to small businesses?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for Small Business and Tourism.
Calling for the question, and I'd like just to remind him of a few details in the budget that makes us proud that we are supporting small businesses. We know that they're a strong and vibrant part of our economy, and our government is making very, very important investments which will directly help small businesses, like the $11.9 billion in infrastructure spending. That'll make sure goods and services and clients can get to these businesses. We're spending $500 million in broadband in rural and remote areas. That's a direct impact on small business. $50 million for the Industrial Research Program. Another $4 million for the Canadian Technical Acceleration Initiative, and $800 million for an innovation.
That's a little less. All right. The Honourable Member for Richmond Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals broke their promise to business owners by suspending the tax cut to small businesses. On December 11th, the Minister of Small Business stood in this House and stated, "I will be working closely with the Minister of Finance to ensure that our commitment to lower the tax burden on small businesses is fulfilled."
How did that go?
Mr. Speaker, why did the Minister decide to flip-flop and lobby her own government for higher taxes?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my honourable colleague for her question and reminder of the list of items that I just noted off that we are helping a small business. We do understand the impact to small business. We understand that they represent 90% and contribute over 40% of our GDP. That's why we're working hard with them to ensure that they can avail of all the programs and the initiatives that we announced in our budget that we're proud of, and we will work with small and medium-sized businesses from coast to coast to coast to ensure they get the support they need going forward, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals mislead Canadian small businesses. They said one thing and did the other. Conservatives believe the best way to help small businesses is trade, training, and tax cuts. Instead, Liberals are killing small business with taxes, and more taxes. When will the Liberals stop raising taxes on job creators?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to remind my honourable colleague of another initiative we had in our budget that we're very proud of, which was to increase marketing money for Destination Canada, increasing it by $50 million. We know that most of these tourism industries are small and medium-sized businesses. What that $50 million is going to do is bring more customers to them, driving across our new roads and bridges, too, I might add. Investment in Destination Canada is going to have a huge impact from coast to coast to coast in our tourism industry.
I'm starting to get the impression that members may have been into the Easter chocolate a bit early. So maybe we could try to calm down a little and listen carefully to the questions and the answers. The Honourable Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, all experts and stakeholders agree that we need to start making strategic investments in home care now. We have seniors being kept in hospital beds simply because we don't have the resources to care for them in our communities. Now, during the last campaign, the Liberals told Canadians they would invest $3 billion over 4 years in home care. Wow. But what does the Liberal budget commit? Absolutely nothing. Now, why are Liberals abandoning their promise to invest in home care when this money is so badly needed?
Very good question.
The Honourable Minister of Health.
I thank my colleague for his question. I stand with my colleagues on this side of the House proud of the budget that we presented this week, proud of the fact that the Canada Health transfer is the largest in Canadian history in the amount of $36 billion. I have committed, as this House knows, to work with my counterparts in the provinces and territories. We are working every day towards a new long-term agreement that will include a number of initiatives, including a $3 billion investment in home care. And we look forward to announcing that once the agreement has been undertaken. Thank you.
Very good. The Honourable Member for Essex.
There you go, a lofty campaign promise on health, another Liberal promise broken. The budget was also very disappointing for farmers in the agricultural sector. Nothing for farmers who face significant losses under CETA. And let's compare to Liberal promises. The budget slashed research funding, cut new CFIA investments, and dropped any mention of the Value-Added Investment Fund. The agricultural sector is a pillar of the economy in many regions of our country, including southwestern Ontario. Why did Liberals break their promise to our nation's farmers?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable colleague for the question. It just gives me a chance to indicate that our government took essential steps to help grow the middle class and revitalise the economy and put money in people's pockets. We also announced a $500 million. We also announced a $500 million for rural broadband internet, Mr. Speaker, which is vitally important. I think the House must realise that farmers live in rural areas. We farmers live in rural areas. We farmers are business people, and we farmers have business to conduct.
The Honourable Member for New Brunswick Southwest.
Mr. Speaker, during the last election, Canadians voted for a plan to ensure that those who need the help the most are there to receive it. Instead of helping the wealthiest, Canadians chose a progressive plan that will give the most help to those who really need it and help to the middle class. Can the Minister of Families, Children and Social Development update the House on the latest developments regarding the monthly tax-free Canada Child Benefit?
Ministre du Développement Social.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the question. I am so delighted and so proud to be part of a team that will be implementing the most significant social policy innovation in a generation, Mr. Speaker. This new Canada Child Benefit will be simpler, non-taxable, and will benefit 9 families out of 10. We'll take 300 children out of poverty, and Mr. Speaker, it will mean up to $6,400 per child under 6, $5,400 for other children.
The Honourable Member for Durham.
Mr. Speaker, the Finance Minister began his budget speech acknowledging the terrible attack in Belgium, which shows the risks that countries like Canada face from global terror. He then went on to announce billions in new spending. $12 million for lawyers to sue the federal government, $85 million for union managers, $675 million for the CBC. But how much for frontline public safety agencies keeping us safe? Zero, Mr. Speaker. When will the Liberal government make the safety of Canadians a priority?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I begin by noting that since 2010, Conservative investment in the RCMP fell by $245 million. We are in the process of repairing the damage that was done by the previous administration. Program integrity support for the RCMP will ensure funding sufficiency while overall Support for the force is reassessed by Treasury Board. We're investing $128 million over 2 years to improve the physical infrastructure for law enforcement and intelligence agencies, and we're investing $60 million in forensics.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, despite the rhetoric by government members on the international scene, there are no clear commitments in the budget for fighting terrorism. Imagine, Mr. Speaker, despite the billions that are announced by the government, only $8 million to fight terrorism at a time when our public safety agencies have clearly stated that there's a shortage of resources. Mr. Speaker, what does the Minister of Public Safety intend to do to fight terrorism and to make it a priority for this government?
The Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, one of the most important initiatives is to deal with counter-radicalization, something that the previous government absolutely failed to do. We made a commitment in the campaign, and we began the funding for it in this budget to establish a Canadian Office for Community Outreach and Counter-Radicalization to work with all of our partners across this country and around the world to make sure that we can head off these tragedies before they happen.
The Honourable Member for Selkirk, Interlake, Eastman.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal budget is an attack on our armed forces. They slashed $3.7 billion from the defense budget, and they are killing military procurement for 5 years. And the Liberals our armed forces cannot afford another dark era of Liberal neglect. The Liberals have put us on the sidelines in the war against terrorism. Why won't the Liberal government support our troops?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, the only attack on our troops were the $3 billion that were cut from the previous government starting in 2012. We have reprofiled our money for the time when our major acquisitions will be needed. We have increased the operational budget by $360 million, and we added another $200 million for military infrastructure, where $50 million of that will go to military family housing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs refused to acknowledge that Canada is at war against the Islamic State. But many of our allies aren't afraid of calling this conflict what it is, a war. Because of this ideology, the government, or in fact, is it because of this ideology that the government pushed off indefinitely $3.7 billion in investment for armed forces infrastructure and equipment in order to fight the Islamic State? Mr. Speaker, I have a quote from General Vance, the Chief of the Defense Staff.
Armed conflict against a non-state actor, that's the legal terminology. We are a lawful party to an armed conflict against a non-state actor. Le soi-disant État islamique.
The so-called Islamic State wants to be recognized as a state. It shall not be. It is a non-state. That is why we're involved in an armed conflict against these terrorists.
The Honourable Member for Regina Louvain.
Mr. Speaker, today's EI numbers show just how hard cities like Regina and Edmonton have been hit. For weeks, the Liberals have been pledging help for Alberta and Saskatchewan. Yet despite Liberal promises, the budget's only concession for regions hit by the collapse of oil and gas has been an extension of EI benefits. Except this measure excluded Edmonton, Regina, and southern Saskatchewan, where oil workers are being laid off. Why does the budget's EI extension exclude Saskatchewan's oil patch?
The Honourable Minister of Employment.
I'm very proud to be standing in the House today to talk about the significant investment that we're putting into those workers that unfortunately have been hit by layoffs across the country. Mr. Speaker, not only are we reducing waiting period for benefits, we're improving service quality, we've ended the negative 2012 changes, we've eliminated the punitive measures to youth, women, and new immigrants, and we've helped those regions of Canada.
The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are preparing to put in place a two two-tier unfair EI system. In 12 regions of the country, the benefit period will be extended by 5 weeks. But none of those regions are in Quebec, none in Gaspésie, and nothing, in fact, for the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean region. Mr. Speaker, our people back home also need help. The government will be diverting $7 billion from the EI fund, and, in addition, they will be excluding our Quebec seasonal workers. Isn't the minister ashamed of this? The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What I can say is we're very proud to help every region of Canada, including the areas of Quebec and seasonal workers, by reducing the deductible, the waiting period, by improving quality of our service, by eliminating the 2012 negative changes, and by helping young people, new immigrants, and women from coast to coast to coast. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Portage Lisgar.
Mr. Speaker, Canada is losing its competitive edge to the U.S. when it comes to exporting our oil, and now we're losing it on LNG also. In fact, the ambassador from Japan said if the approval of the environmental assessment is delayed further, Canada may run the risk of missing the chance to export LNG to the growing Asia market for a long time. The Liberals, Mr. Speaker, have no plan for jobs. Why don't they get out of the way and let the private sector in Alberta and BC create jobs?
The Honourable Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unlike the previous government, we understand that the economy and the environment go together. We are committed to ensuring that the energy sector remains a source of jobs and prosperity, but we remain committed to ensuring that we do proper environmental assessments, a system that was gutted under the previous government. I would like to point out that last Friday we approved an LNG project called Wood Fibre that they might like to look at. But with PNW, they produced additional information, and we are going to do a proper review and ensure that developments are done in a sustainable manner.
The Honourable Member for Lakeland.
Mr. Speaker, every chance the Liberals get, they delay crucial energy infrastructure projects. They call for moratoriums on oil sands and tankers. They suck up to anti-Canadian energy lobby groups, and they add extra red tape and uncertainty at the very worst time. In 2012, the Justice Minister said, quote, "The country's reputation is at stake with the approval of these projects like Site C and the Enbridge pipeline." How can Canadians trust the Liberals' support energy development and the hundreds of thousands of jobs it provides when senior members of their cabinet are such vocal opponents?
The Honourable Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I repeated previously, our government believes that the economy and the environment goes together, and that is the only way that we will get our resources to market. Last Friday, we approved a project because we believe that it met high environmental standards and it made sense for the economy. We are reviewing other projects to ensure that they do the same. We will get projects to market when they are done in a sustainable way, unlike the previous government.
The Honourable Member for Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We don't know whether all 7 new senators, including Mr. Pratt and Mr. Harder, were on the final list submitted by the Advisory Board to the Prime Minister. If Mr. Pratt was on the list, then the Quebec Board has broken its requirement to only nominate qualified persons. If any of the 7 was not on the list, then the Prime Minister has broken his promise to rely upon independent advice. And if there was any communication between the Prime Minister and the Advisory Board to smooth out these wrinkles, then talk of the Advisory Board being independent is a farce. One of these 3 scenarios is what actually happened. Which one is it?
Great question. The Honourable Minister for Democratic Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to congratulate all the individuals who have been appointed to the Senate. They are all outstanding Canadians of the highest merit, and I am confident that they will serve the best interests of Canadians. They also represent the diversity of our great nation. This is an opportunity to thank. Deepest gratitudes to the individuals on the Independent Advisory Board for reviewing the applications. We look forward to opening the process to all Canadians in a very near future.
The Honourable Member for Scarborough Rouge Park.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the Minister of Immigration for his incredible achievement in bringing in 25,000 refugees by February 29th. Particularly proud of his commitment to bring in an additional 10,000 by the end of this year. Now, I'd like to ask the Minister about housing for the new arrivals and how the Minister has is able to how he has progressed in helping government-assisted refugees move into permanent housing.
The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Well, thank you for the question to my colleague, and I am happy to report to the House that while 3 weeks ago the proportion of refugees in permanent housing stood at 52%, as of yesterday, the proportion of the Syrian refugees in permanent housing had increased to 78%. Mr. Speaker, while I have always said that there would be bumps along the way, this is clearly strong progress, and I am confident that every single one of these refugees will be in permanent housing before the end of June.
The Honourable Member for Grand Prairie Mackenzie.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Budgets are demonstrations of government's priorities, and farm families are convinced that they're not a Liberal priority. Even after borrowing billions of dollars, farmers and farm families were left out in the cold. But there was one suggestion for farm families in the budget. The suggestion was that farmers should become solar and wind power producers so that they would have good jobs. Well, Mr. Speaker, farming is a good job. It's an honorable job. I wonder when the Ag Minister will stand in his house and start defending honourable, hard-working farm families.
Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate my colleague's question, but the problem is he did wrong. The fact is, our government took essential steps to grow the middle class, revitalize the economy. The $500 million for the broadband is vital for the rural areas. We farmers live in rural areas. We farmers do business. We also put over 38 million, if you want to listen, at CFIA.
Order. Hearing way too much noise today. Okay, it's unnecessary, it's inappropriate. Let's show a little respect for each other and for this place. And the Honourable Member, Minister of Agriculture, has the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As I indicated, the broadband is so important. Also for money, millions into CFIA and millions into research. And I can tell you, research is so valuable in agriculture, and the gag order is lifted from the scientists too, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Member for Salaberry-sur-Roi. Farmers deserve a lot better, Mr. Speaker. On another subject, the Liberals made great promises during the election campaign to the young people of our country. Hundreds of millions of dollars for a youth employment strategy, millions of dollars for youth services programs. Unfortunately, in this budget, there is $365 million less than promised for the next 2 years. Youth organizations are calling for more long-term investments in prevention and to fight the unstable nature of jobs. So why has the Prime Minister, who's responsible for young people, abandoned so cynically the young people in this country?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister for Youth.
I'm proud to answer the question posed by my honourable colleague from Salaberry. One of the things that I can say is that we are incredibly proud of what we're doing as a government for our youth. Keep in mind that the previous government did not have a Minister of Youth. Keep in mind that the previous government did not take the needs of our youth seriously. And because of that, we saw that for 10 years, the unemployment rate for young people in this country stayed stagnant at roughly the same amount. We're taking this seriously. We're investing in ensuring that we're providing opportunities, Mr. Speaker, for young people to create jobs, give them opportunities to go to university, and make sure that they have a better future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Brome-Missisquoi. Mr. Speaker, in my riding, we have Lac Memphremagog and Champlain Lake, which are covered by the international boundaries Act, and their two lakes are very important for my constituents because they take their drinking water from them. And there's some 250,000 people who drink the water from those lakes. What does the government intend to do to improve the quality of water in those lakes? Does it plan to invest in the Joint International Commission and to open up dialogue with our U.S. counterparts?
Jean.
The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, that question comes from the member of Brome-Missisquoi, who is a great defender of the two lakes in his riding, Memphremagog and Champlain. He understands the importance of those two lakes for the entire region. That's why I want to thank the Minister of Finance for the $7.7 million over 5 years in order to conduct scientific research to ensure that we have the best solutions possible to save those lakes and to clean them up with a safe water for the people in the regions in conjunction with our American counterparts. Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, let the wind blow and the sun shine. And that's the Liberal vision for agriculture. Having read the budget, Canadian farmers are very worried about the lack of attention by the Liberal government for the sector. The significance of agriculture in the Liberal caucus appears to reflect the influence of the minister. Mr. Speaker, where are the commitments in the budget, in this government's budget, on the compensation promised to farmers as part of the economic agreements with Europe and the TPP?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
I appreciate my honourable colleague's question, and I can assure him that this government supports supply management and understands the importance of compensation. And in this budget, Mr. Speaker, we were able to make sure that the middle class grew, that revitalized the economy, and put more money in people's pockets. We also put a broadband out so my honourable colleagues, farmers, would be able to talk on a cell phone. They do business, Mr. Speaker. We farmers do business. We deserve the right to be able to talk on a cell phone. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right. Whether we're colleagues, order. Order. Whether we're talking on a cell phone or in this house, we always want to hear. Et maintenant, on va écouter.
So we'll now go to the Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in 1998, the government shut down the workers of Air Canada who were concerned about their jobs by putting in place measures to keep maintenance in 3 cities in Canada. Air Canada has changed its position on this, and the government is not doing anything to respect it. Mr. Speaker, now today the Minister of Transport is tabling legislation which will withdraw Air Canada from these requirements. How can the Minister go back on his word to the workers at Avios and abandon the aerospace industry in the province of Quebec, Mr. Speaker? Is this the government's position? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Today's reality, Mr. Speaker, is that the world has significantly evolved and the legislation that had existed for the past 28 years needs to be updated. Quebec and Manitoba put an end to their legal action against Air Canada, and that enables us to modernize and the legislation for Air Canada, which must, as you know, compete throughout the world. Nationally, internationally, it must be in a better position. It must be in a position to make decisions where to do its maintenance activities.
The
Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Speaker, the 2012 Omnibus Budget Bill, the infamous C-38, repealed environmental assessment and put in place a bogus, weak Canadian Environmental Assessment Act 2012, so-called, which has allowed the National Energy Board to make a mockery of real EA. I was shocked to find in this budget at page 166 4 years of funding specifically referenced to keeping the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act 2012 alive. Does the Minister of Environment intend to entrench C-38 or do the right thing and get rid of it?
The Honourable Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the member opposite for her tireless advocacy on behalf of environmental issues. I was thrilled with the budget. It was the greenest budget ever. Sent a clear signal that we are moving to a low-carbon economy. We're going to create very good, clean jobs, and we're going to provide a more sustainable future for my children, for all of our children. I want to reassure the member opposite that we are committed to a review of our environmental assessment process. The amount of money that was provided for SIA is intended to allow for that and also to support a consultation with Indigenous.
Now I'm going to call upon the honourable member for Regina Capel for the usual Thursday question.
Yes, sir. Just before I ask the Thursday question, I wonder if I could find unanimous consent to table the January fiscal monitor, which yet again should show a conservative surplus.
This request sounds familiar. Does the honourable member have unanimous consent to table the report? There's no consent. Let's go on to the honourable member for Regina Capel for the Thursday question.
Well, Mr. Speaker, in that case, can I move on to the Thursday question? I wonder if the government House Leader will update the House as to the business of this chamber after we return from our Easter break and constituency work.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if colleagues are so inclined, I could perhaps table at the end of my answer to the Thursday question this very incisive weekly business statement, but I'll leave that to your judgment, Mr. Speaker. So today, Mr. Speaker, the House is debating, as you know, Bill C-7, the RCMP Labour Relations Act. I believe will conclude second reading, I hope, at the end of the day today. The House will, as my friend noted, adjourn for the Easter break and allow